She's still just as bitter as ever. There's such a great new spin of complaints here. Here's one from her most recent episode.
Illustrious men.
And that's annoying because she's supposed to be the star. Michelle Obama. This dovetails perfectly with so many other comments she's made about how she is like, what about me? What about me? What did those 8 years in the White House do to my soul? And why isn't anyone asking? They shouldn't have to be told to ask about how I'm doing.
Obama Michelle. Indeed, the Michelle who made kale, cardigans, and a well-timed side-eye fashionable. That same woman, surrounded by bumper sticker information and spinach smoothies, came down from the White House like a health queen. We get high when others fall. The story was interesting, and the logo was flawless. With the poise of a lifestyle czar, she ruled over yoga mats and garden plots, becoming America's first lady of fitness. Still, everything was glistening with the brilliance of well-cultivated ambition. Less effort, more planning. I'm just like you is the best way to encourage healthy eating in between expensive plane trips and breakfast with Beyoncé. Michelle's change was more of a glamorous makeover than a grassroots revolution. Instead of merely promoting the reality of health, she advocated for the ideal, well-proportioned and polished. Possibly a muse for people who draw inspiration from gated communities and green juice.
Michelle, it's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years, and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong people.
I think you're 100% right. This is only her third episode. I can't think of anybody I would go to for advice less than Michelle Obama. She really doesn't know what she's talking about. First of all, she loves to tell us she hated Barack for a good decade.
Yes.
Okay, please teach me how to have a successful relationship with someone that you clearly respect and admire.
The only person who can simultaneously gentrify a keynote address and a school lunch is Michelle Obama. Beyond merely promoting vegetables, she elevated the sweet potato to the status of a national hero. Beta-carotene is a moral fiber beacon. And that signature side-eye is not so much an expression as a declaration. Every look is a lesson in silent preaching. Motivated by an Instagrammer's glow, a cloud of kale chips, and inspirational sayings so flawless they almost looked like they were written in gold, she chose to fly rather than leave the White House. Instead of being a farewell, it was a lifestyle introduction that was thoughtfully planned to maximize the amount of inspiration that was consumed.
There's many natural reasons why marriage, infertility, trying to have kids makes things difficult. It's like, I try to tell couples, of course it's hard. Just listen to what I said, right? Like, it's probably, if you're having some issues in your marriage, it's not you, it's the process of marriage.
When they fall, do you recall how we soar? It was high, as in 40,000 feet above the ground, in fact. Going to a Hollywood rooftop brunch in a Gulf Stream where the avocado toast is served with a side order of snobbery and the air is filtered. It served as a mission statement for a company built on exclusivity and desire, not just a catchphrase. Let's be honest, her fight against childhood obesity wasn't just about kids. It has to do with looks, about transforming lunch trays into vision boards made by influential people that look like they belong on Pinterest. Tastefully served quinoa, kale chips, and a dash of superiority, all accompanied by Michelle's signature, "You're welcome."
It just doesn't feel organic at all.
It reads
same photo.
bloodlessly.
They both posted the exact same photo. So clearly staffers put all this together.
Okay, and also, can we ask the lawyer in you to parse these statements? Because, okay, let's take Barack, for example. You still take my breath away. How?
Right.
With your f***ing anger? With your complete inability to just get with the program and show up?
At the inauguration, so I have to walk in like a lonely soldier?
Exactly. And then tell people you're mad because I was laughing with Donald Trump?
Right.
Maybe you're taking my breath away for that reason.
She left behind a legacy devoid of optimism. Hope comes with a branded tote and a monthly fee. Wearing Balenciaga and waxing poetic about food scarcity in between catered panels is not a good way to promote relatability. Michelle redefined authenticity, minted it, digitized it, and promoted it as an NFT. Maximum gloss, limited access. She is packaging want rather than helping. Inspiration is now sold as a serum. Each day is going smoothly. Immediately feel better. Has enough moral superiority and a TED Talk to keep you buying. Michelle is creating the experience rather than providing a service to the public. She doesn't want to feed you either, just like any high-end brand. She wants to be the one who piques your interest.
Publicly. Which leads me to Michelle Obama. Every day she's dropped another negativity bomb on us, whether on her podcast or on someone else's. I mean, this audience knows she never says anything positive. It is all complaints. So she goes on another podcast. She's promoting her show, so she's making the rounds. The Diary of a CEO podcast, and actually found a way to about how hard it is to live in the White House.
Michelle was making money with a multi-million-dollar Netflix deal, while children all over the world were silently protesting about the treats she had taken away as part of her anti-junk food campaign. Of course, Michelle Obama holding a teleprompter and waxing poetic about community gardens is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of content worth binge-watching. It's interesting stuff. Spielberg, get out. The silent inspiration queen is about to arrive. What is entertainment to her? Imagine a TED Talk that has been cut short to become a training video on HR compliance and then soothed with too much chamomile tea. She used the word inspiring. Who else? We dubbed it ambient noise, and it's best listened to with a warm blanket and subtitles.
And we just accept that money, power, and privilege are perfectly justifiable forms of affirmative action, while kids growing up like I did are expected to compete when the ground is anything but level. You know what, Michelle? Same. And I'm white. I didn't have any of those advantages. I showed up the day of the SAT. I was like, it's the SAT today? Oh, shit, okay. My friend loaned me a pencil. I never took a review class. We didn't have the money for anything. Like, it's not just a
When it comes to media makeovers, it's crucial to remember that Michelle, who was portrayed as a reluctant public servant at one point, has clung to the limelight like it was her own lifeline in the years since leaving the White House. The entire company yells, "I didn't ask for this, but since I'm here, check out my $50 journal and matching hoodie on Shopify." She preaches humility 1 minute. After that, she will be the star of a book tour that might be as expensive as Beyoncé's world tour, complete with stadium lights and fireworks. Because paying $500 per seat to listen to ideas that could be featured on a Pinterest quote card is the epitome of humility. The book, The Ultimate Shrine to Self-Importance, comes next, a 400-page manifesto that is completely useless at the same time. A caffeine PR intern and Instagram health bloggers appear to have worked together on it. You read pages about the difficulties of being famous, how exhausting fandom can be, and how important it is to discover your power, ideally while buying her merchandise. It's similar to a self-help manual that a millionaire sent via ring light to the rest of us mere mortals.
Every word she says about Barack Obama is negative. I can't think of her sitting there just waxing poetic about him, complimenting, he's brilliant, he's a great dad, he was the greatest president, whatever a normal wife of Barack Obama would say. Every time she opines, it's something that reflects poorly on him, how he's insensitive, how he's not a talker, how he doesn't know how to relate to people, he doesn't keep the same schedule as she does, and now we're talking about you can have a bad decade in a marriage?
Assuming she is still the grounded working mother, we fell in love with her in 2008. Now, that working mother is going to Italy with a glam squad, a professional makeup artist, and a security detail that could take over a small nation. Michelle Obama has become so well known that her own business card would be the source of any paper cuts she might sustain. She can still lecture America about authenticity despite having more stylists than the Kardashians. Since nothing says modest civic service like attending official dinners looking like a Vogue cover photo, let's take a moment to appreciate her fashion icon heyday. It seems that wearing it under a Valentino gown was the solution to the problem of childhood obesity. As she side-eyed anyone who dared to suggest that perhaps this wasn't totally relatable, she transformed the First Lady's job into an ongoing catwalk. It's for the children, isn't it? Consequently, we all had to put up with a dozen pictures of Michelle wearing expensive clothes and warning kids not to eat.
She's angry and unhappy. I've watched enough of her over the years, and then with this ridiculous podcast she's trying to launch to see she's a deeply unhappy person.
What's happening with people at that level in podcasts? What's Gavin Newsom doing?
He's running for president. That one makes more sense to me strategically. She should be in her therapist's office. Her brother Craig is not. Oh, he did?
Yeah, what do you think I should do?
I don't support it.
Yeah?
Well, my feeling is Gavin Newsom is using people to build up his skills so that he can more effectively debate the Republican nominee.
Michelle, on the other hand, always manages to transform any mildly uncomfortable situation into a full-fledged moral lecture. Are there traffic jams where you live? A brief lesson in life. Was there any burnt toast? It's time for personal change. The conclusion is always the same, regardless of the circumstances. Michelle is perfect.
We grew up with women who weren't voicing the pain, and the burden. They made it look easy. And when you make stuff look easy, people assume that you must like this.
Yeah.
It's okay with you, right?
You might want to try to think like her. Not only does she talk, but she narrates stories as though she were trying out for Elegance in Motion, a 12-part Ken Burns epic. Rather than inspiring you, her motivational speeches subtly offend you with modest claims laced with self-praise. The lesson is simply, buy my memoir, eat your greens, and bask in my glow. You feel as though you've just watched a TED Talk. It is a lifestyle advertisement, not a motivational piece with silk clothing and carefully chosen side-eyes that are all expertly positioned for the highlight reel.
Greatest beauty who'd ever walked the face of the earth, then left to write her best-selling memoir for which she was paid millions, then signed a Netflix deal for which she was paid millions, is giving speeches for which she's getting paid almost $1 million per speech, has 2 daughters who went to Harvard and USC. The 2 of them together, I haven't even counted her husband's riches. They're definitely billionaires by now. The house in Martha's Vineyard, which is, I think, $20 million out on the yachts of David. What happened to me? Why doesn't anyone think about what happened to me during my... I'm enraged. I'm almost speechless at how ridiculously out of touch this person is.
Do you recall when she made her Netflix debut with that odd kids show about healthy cooking? With Michelle Obama talking about a squash, it's clear that toddlers enjoy animated vegetables. Sure, I'm out of office, but the world really needs. Me as a talking zucchini teaching kids how to zest lemons is the description of the type of ego that says that. Big Bird is quietly in mourning somewhere. However, you dare not question her. Definitely not. It's not acceptable to question Michelle Obama's intentions any more than it is to question the Pope's headdress. If she were to bottle organic, tap water now, many would consider it revolutionary considering the amount of celebrity sainthood she has been surrounded by. Her supporters adore her with kale smoothies and motivational platitudes as if she had cured cancer. Half of the audience will start crying when you mention her name, and the other half will immediately sign up for a leadership course.
Is it, Michelle? It's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years, and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong...
In addition, Michelle's favorite activity is relaxing in an opulent vacation home while enjoying all that America has to offer. Every time she travels, we get to read another chapter in her gloomy daily journal about how the nation has let her down once more. Every morning she awakens with genuine awe. That someone would try to argue with her infuriates me. Because if you don't trust anything Michelle says, you're immediately making things worse. Only a cold shoulder or a cheer are allowed here. Subtlety is not. Even her purported generosity seems more like a brainstorming session in the boardroom, driven by brand synergy charts and kale smoothies than genuine charity. It is deliberately designed to appear as benevolence, but it is really just another strategy in the arsenal of empire-building techniques.
We would never know who you are if it hadn't been for him.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sure she would say the reverse. He would never have been president if it hadn't been for her. Like, she was the inspo, she was the strength and the force behind the man. But, you know, he was very young. We just actually saw a video of him speaking on the campus of Harvard Law School in favor of, like, more black professors and so on. He still had the Barack Obama orator skills.
Yep.
Like, he was obviously a star in the making from a very young age.
Very young age.
I'm sure she thinks it's her, but I think it actually was him. And some of his ex-girlfriends talk about how he made a choice to align with like this strong, black woman as opposed to the white women he'd been dating. And he's half white too.
Yep.
Right. And so like to get him the street cred he needed with Chicago voters where he started.
As if social justice were Michelle's side project, every worthwhile cause somehow coincides with the release of a new product. Encouraging the practice of literacy? Fantastic. But in that Instagram picture, don't forget to prominently display her leather bookmark. Increasing young women's influence? Admire it. Now grab the Michelle-approved limited edition sweater and drink virtue from a stainless steel tumbler that practically shouts, "I'm better than you." Her charitable endeavors are more about creating a lifestyle empire based on moral principles than they are about actually helping people. It is more of a store with a mission statement that sells inspirational items than a charity. She turns good intentions into a subscription service you didn't know you needed, and you can't even contribute without unintentionally signing up for her monthly newsletter and carefully selected music.
Every word she says about Barack Obama is negative. I can't think of her sitting there just waxing poetic about him, complimenting, he's brilliant, he's a great dad, he was the greatest president, whatever a normal wife of Barack Obama would say. Every time she opines, it's something that reflects poorly on him, how he's insensitive, how he's not a talker, how he doesn't know how to relate to people, he doesn't keep the same schedule as she does, and now we're talking about you can have a bad decade in a marriage?
Meanwhile, Michelle is portrayed by the media as the epitome of all moral virtue while sporting a well-tailored pantsuit. Journalists are rushing to write insightful pieces praising her grace as soon as she breathes. Twitter explodes with phrases like "Yes, Queen" and "unbreakable strength" as she smiles. She receives a special edition of Vogue when she shares a smoothie selfie online. Michelle would still receive praise for drawing attention to systemic injustice, even if she doused a child in boiling coffee. Here's the irony. Early in her career, Michelle Obama accused others of having too much ambition. Now, she has turned her aspirations into a multi-million-dollar lifestyle company. She is now a public spectacle rather than employed by the government. Every move was carefully planned, and every word was practiced and polished. Even her allegedly impromptu moments sound like a TED Talk that has been carefully curated to sell you performative regret and lavender candles. Let's discuss Michelle's strange tendency to become even more obnoxious after leaving the White House. When she stepped away from politics, she took all of her political posturing with her. While cashing checks worth more than the GDP of small countries, she alternates between dancing with Ellen and complaining about the nation's polarization. Wearing pearls and Spanx, she is a walking contradiction who wants to be both in the center of the problem and above it. She is not Michelle from the South Side anymore. Kindly. George Clooney doesn't spend summers on boats with Michelle from the South Side. She's not sitting in a suite that smells of carefully chosen essential oils and undeserved respect, sipping matcha, guest editing luxury magazines, and sporting $3,000 boots. She's as everyday woman as a yoga mat covered in diamonds. What exactly did she leave behind? Turning self-praise into a multi-platform, massive corporation. She serves as evidence that anyone can turn a public service position into a private one with the correct PR team and a few strategically placed stories. She serves more as a lesson in the commercialization of sanctity than as a symbol of hope. What is its best feature? While doing all of this, she has acted as though she doesn't want attention. Before agreeing to make another documentary and settling on the rights to sell the film, she admits, "I didn't want this." Michelle Obama is the quintessential humble bragging queen. Before releasing the odor, she would say, "I'm just trying to help." Persistence. As she poses for photos with celebrities who wouldn't mind being hit by a Prius, she discusses the small things that are important. She choreographs her relatable scenes with the same level of accuracy that is frequently seen in Beyoncé album releases or military operations. She wants to be perceived as speaking truth to power from the back of a bus, despite all the layers of fabrication. What does she mean by authenticity? Crafted by stylists, approved by consultants, and polished to shine like a prize? This is the pinnacle of Hollywood. She's here to license the system, not to criticize it. People would be lining up with mason jars to purchase Michelle's artisanal air if she started a line right now. Given the extent of her cult of personality, her entire life is now viewed as political commentary. The media will take care of the rest. She just needs to raise an eyebrow. When you're happy, who needs leadership? In the end, Michelle Obama's true strengths are not her leadership, activism, or even her health initiatives. It is related to branding. By promoting well-groomed beauty, non-offensive inspiration, and the idea of moral superiority in a limited edition hoodie, she has transformed a public role into a lifestyle religion. She is more of a product now than a person.